NBA draft. And the draft is so good, Joe Ranieri, this year that they had to make it 2 nights here. Now, I'm being a little bit facetious because there is not a lot of energy for this draft, which is crazy, which leads us into our next topic about the draft. We'll take a look at who's supposed to go 1, 2, and 3. But before we get there, maybe the biggest focal point on the Los Angeles Lakers, besides hiring J.J. Redick, and will LeBron James actually play for the Lakers once opting out, will he opt back in for more money and stay in Los Angeles, is what? Bronny James, where he's actually going to go in the draft. Now, the FanDuel Sportsbook has a pretty robust market right now. If you're not interested in who's going 1, 2, or 3, how about the Bronny James market? And we're getting a lot of hype for a player that doesn't look like he's even going to be a first-round pick. Before I get into this specials market, Joe, taking a look at Bronny James, in your opinion, is he a first-round pick? And yes, will he go in the first round?
No, he's not. Listen, he couldn't even start at USC. Now he's going to be a first-round pick. I mean, this is all undue pressure on a kid that really is going to have to spend the rest of his life in his father's shadow. I just hate everything about this, Donnie. Can LeBron convince a team, Lakers, to go ahead and take a flyer on him somewhere down the point? Sure. But if push comes to shove and the draft picks that you have to be utilized to go out and get a Donovan Mitchell, well, then maybe he goes to a G League or goes to Australia or something along those lines here, Donnie, which wouldn't be the worst thing. If this is truly about Bronny cultivating himself and becoming an NBA player, he's not that right now. That would be best for him. But for LeBron, if the clock is ticking and he wants to play with his kid and that's a goal of his, well, then he'll move mountains in order to make it happen. So don't put it by LeBron to figure out a way in order to convince the guys to go ahead and draft him in that front office.
It's interesting, too, because you see Rich Paul, who's the agent, obviously, for LeBron James, has a lot of clients throughout the NBA and a lot of powers, basically telling certain teams, unless you're giving my client, which is Bronny James, a guaranteed deal. It's going to be no two-way deals, which means he starts out in the G League and maybe can get that two-way contract back up to the NBA. Do you agree with the way Rich Paul's handling it? Because he came out and made a lot of comments saying, like, it doesn't matter that it's Bronny James. I would do this with any client that I had. And my counterpoint was, you wouldn't even have Bronny James as a client if his name wasn't Bronny James at this point, because you're not messing with a late second-round pick, which is probably what he should be. Do you agree with the handling right now, Bronny James, through his agent, Rich Paul?
I believe nothing of any of what I hear out of them, whatever. And no matter what he says, think about the opposite, because there's obviously conversations going on behind the scenes. It would make the most sense, but I think this all depends on what LeBron James's goal is here. Does he want, if the season goes, Donnie, hard left, right? Does he push for Bronny to be on the team towards the end of a team going absolutely nowhere? Or what is the motivation for LeBron? As crazy as it is, this isn't the motivation for the Lakers. It's what is LeBron's motivation when it comes to his kid? What does he want to have happen? He will do anything in his power to make it happen if that's what he wants. If he wants to be on the court with him this year, guess what? He's going to be on the court with him this year. He still wields that kind of power.
And also, if we take a look at that J.J. Redick interview, and yes, him, the Lakers obviously like what they heard. Coming up in some of those topics is, well, what happens if we draft Bronny James? How do you handle the father and the son playing? That came up. But at the same time, the Lakers do have the 17th overall pick in the NBA draft. Now, this is not a very deep draft, to say the least, but it would be kind of crazy if you're saying, all right, well, just to make LeBron happy, we're going to burn a first-round draft pick to take his son when we know he's not actually a first-round draft pick, which brings us back into the betting market. So, yes, the Lakers do have number 17 overall, but the FanDuel Sportsbook is telling us right here, over-under on draft positioning for Bronny James, 41.5. So with that knowledge, knowing the Lakers have a first-round pick, 41.5 is the number. What's the over-under on Bronny? Is he going under 41.5 or over 41.5 in your opinion?
I think a lot of this is going to depend. Are the Lakers keeping this pick, or are they utilizing it and using it in a package deal someplace else to bring in immediate help? I mean, we're assuming the Lakers are going to have draft picks here. They're going to have that number 17 pick. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they don't dangle that to go get and see if they can't make an offer where they can bring in with 2 or 3 other teams. Jimmy Butler, I keep hearing that down here all the time, going to the Lakers. Donovan Mitchell getting out of, Cleveland and coming to the Lakers. That's all going to require draft capital in order to, not just money, but it's going to require draft capital. They may not have a pick, at which point it could just be one of these sign situations here and stash him in the G League until LeBron calls for him.
Yeah, and by the way, Bronny James to be drafted in the first round is also a market here. Obviously, the 41.5 is that player positioning here. It's a 5-to-1 price for yes. And we talk about Rich Paul saying to himself, look, I'm putting this out here right now. There's no two-way contracts. And again, if you're a first-round draft pick, you get that guarantee here. So does that say to myself, 5-to-1 price, Joe, is that worthy of thinking that he might get slid back into that late first-round pick at this point, or no for you?
To me, it's a no. I just don't see, if they're serious about winning now, and I don't know what else there is for the Lakers besides winning now with a 40-year-old LeBron James. I don't think that should be a priority. I don't think utilizing a pick in the first round for LeBron's son, who's not ready to play in the NBA, I don't know how that makes any sense. So I wouldn't be tying up my money for 5-to-1. I think it's a great storyline, and people will be watching it, but I think the reality is we probably are not hearing his name called when the draft comes.
Like, if you are LeBron James, too, and the goal right now for him is he's always chasing history. The more rings he can get, the better he matches up, let's just say, with a Michael Jordan, some of the Titans that came before him. But also, he's got to be a businessman as well, going like, okay, if we want to be good this year, and again, you're not drafting number 1 overall, number 2 overall, where you're going to get a guy like Anthony Edwards. We understand that. Right. But it's still the 17th overall pick. And LeBron James, let's just say they don't trade the pick away. Yes, we're going to select that. Yeah, I'm sure he'd be happy to play with his son, but at the same time going like, wait a second, I could have gotten like a true swing guard right here at 17 that might be able to help us, and then get my son later in the draft when we trade up maybe into the second round and get him. That makes the most sense. Now, the one intriguing part is going to be is we're figuring that it's going to be the Lakers that draft him. There's a market that tells us where he's going to go with the price are. Let's talk about that next to end hour number 2. We'll be right back. The questions keep coming up and won't be answered until next week when we have the NBA drafts, round 1 and rounds number 2. And this is the Sports Grid Network here. Got you covered on everything NBA, all of those hot topics here, which includes at the FanDuel Sportsbook, where's Bronny James actually can go. You can bet on this, people. You can. And no surprise, Joe Ranieri, the leader in the clubhouse, it's the Los Angeles Lakers at a plus 100 price. The Phoenix Suns at a plus 650 price. Those were the two teams that get, talked about with Bronny James more than any other. So rightfully so, but a heavy favorite of the Lakers. Mavericks, Timberwolves, Raptors, and Knicks also on that board. So next week, forget about where Bronny James is drafted numerically. Where is he going, and what team do you feel he will be on by the end of next week?
Listen, if you believe the guys that follow the team and who have their ear to the pavement there, you've got a Lakers team that hold 2 picks right now, right? The 17th and the 55th in this year's draft. Most of these guys are all saying the same thing here, Donnie. One of those 2 picks will be used to draft him. And if that is the case, if it ain't the 17th, it's probably going to be the second round, but it will not be any team other than the Lakers. It's either going to be the 17th, if they still have it, provided they don't find another deal in order to be able to package that with, or it's going to be the 55th pick. And it's going to be them. The question is what happens after that, though. That is going to be the $1 million question.
Yeah, I can't imagine going anywhere but the Lakers, but it's funny that it's been years and years and years. I want to stay long enough to play with my son. I play for the Lakers. We have a pick. We should be able to choose my son. And then over the past, 24 to 48 hours, I don't know if this is truth because I don't believe it, where LeBron James is like, yeah, wherever he goes is fine. If he plays with me or not, it's not actually being a big deal at this point. Let's take a look here at some other NBA draft picks here. We know Reese Shea is now the favorite at minus 125 price to be number 1 overall over Sarr, who's plus 145. But the question not really 1 versus 2 right now, Joe. You know what it actually is? Who is going to become the 3rd overall draft pick? That might be the hottest market right now. And at the FanDuel Sportsbook, Reed Shepherd at a plus 100 price, Donovan Clingan at a plus 270 price. In your mind, outside of the top 2, who probably should go number 3 here?
Yeah, I mean, you also have the kid, too, the UConn point guard, Stephen Castle, is also a guy that has been getting a ton of love here. And I kind of like that because we're talking about what? The Rockets, right? At number 3, if I'm not mistaken. We've got Atlanta, we've got Washington, and then we've got the Houston Rockets. And love a guy like Stephen Castle for them. Reed Shepherd is also in that conversation. And I don't know. I'm not sure Klingon goes in the top 3 or 5, if we're being completely honest. I know he's getting a lot of hype, but I think Stephen Castle from UConn is much more valuable to teams at the top of this draft board than what Klingon would be at this point.
Yeah, no, we'll find out. And again, we got 1 week. And the one thing we do know is that market has changed a lot over the past couple weeks.
Yes.
That numbers are going to change drastically right up till we get the draft next Wednesday night for round number 1. And then Thursday, obviously, will be round number 2.